All right, Ian, Google Stadia.
Oh, God.
Is going to launch next week to early adopters.
Early adopters we should really need to get this out of the way right now. Early adopters who need to pay $10 a month. There is no free Google Stadia until next year.
So then who's going to be early adopting? People who love Google and want to get
Yes, people who love Google and think that this is against all evidence. This is going to be a great idea. I'm sorry, I'm jumping right into it because Google Stadia is absolute. This is dog shit. This is just dog shit. So here's their launch. Here's their launch lineup.
There goes our monetization.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, which is free to play. I'll get into that. Guilt, Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, yipes, Red Dead Redemption 2, Samurai Showdown, another yipes, because these are fighting games. Thumper, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-Year Celebration Edition, Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. So, of your 12 launch titles, 1/4 of your lineup is Tomb Raider games. Okay.
Those are all the new ones, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Samurai Showdown and Mortal Kombat 11 are fighting games, which we could, sure, I will wait and see what people say next week, but fighting games on a streaming service equals just a massive potential for failure.
Okay.
Because of the timing and the inputs.
Latency?
Yes, because of latency. You have Destiny 2, which is free to play on every other system now. It's free to play on this, but you have to pay that $10 a month.
Okay.
Which I guess technically you're paying for your PlayStation Network and stuff like that. But you can play it on PC. You're paying for your internet. But still, the fact that you're still, like, at launch, you get this, and you have to pay $10 more than what you paid for your Google Stadia Founders Edition controller, and you get Destiny 2. Every one of these other games you have to pay for. None of these are exclusive. None of these are new. Most of these are a year old. 6 months to a year old.
How did the latest Samurai Showdown, how was that reviewed? Pretty well?
Pretty well.
Pretty well?
Yes.
I got to check that out. I like Samurai Showdown. Okay. So then for the end of the year, they're going to be able to buy. They're going to be able to buy, Ian.
You're going to be able to
wait to buy.
You can purchase Borderlands 3.
That's just funny. Before the end of the year, you'll be able to buy them
Borderlands
on your
3,
service.
which is already out. Attack on Titan 2, Darksiders Genesis, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which, Christ, is like 2 or 3 years old at this point. Farming Simulator 19.
Can't wait to buy that one.
Final Fantasy 15, 2 years old. Football Manager 2020, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Grid, Metro Exodus, NBA 2K20, and then you can have the joy of buying things within NBA 2K20. Rage 2, Trials Rising, and Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Which is what, a year and a half old? 2 years old? Wolfenstein Youngblood?
Yeah, no, Youngblood I think is the most recent one. I think that's somewhat more.
Oh, it just came out?
Know. Yeah, I think that's more. That's
2019.
Recent. Yeah.
Okay.
So none of these games are necessarily bad. As a matter of fact, I mean, of the ones I've played on here, they're all pretty good. But it's such a...
By the way, Ian, before we get into that, and you can get these all in 4K resolution and HDR support and gameplay at 50 frames per second and 5.1 surround sound.
If you're paying the $9.99 a month.
Yes.
Yeah. So next year, Google Stadia will have a free version, which basically you just pay for the game and it will let you stream it anywhere. And I think that's supposed to be the big selling point for something like Stadia, is that you can basically play it on anything. You can stream it to anything. Anything that has a Stadia app, you can play it on your iPhone. I believe will have a Stadia app. I don't know about that. Android phones will definitely have Stadia.
Or an Android tablet you can take on the go.
Tablets.
Sure.
It even said phones because you're literally just streaming it. So there's really no reason why you couldn't do it on your phone, which is neat. But for this to be able to work, you need really solid internet and a solid infrastructure.
And you need a bandwidth that doesn't cap.
Right.
That's the most important thing in this equation.
The one thing that could be potentially interesting about Stadia, the ability to kind of, use your games library on everything, is going to be severely hamstrung by the fact that you need insanely good internet, high bandwidth, and and that's if the service itself is up to snuff.
So I have Cox Gigablast, which is the fiber optic here. Mm-hmm. So in theory, you get your own dedicated line. It comes to the house. and it's up to 1 gig up and 1 gig down. It doesn't usually work out that way. Even if you're plugged in, you'll get like, you'll get like half a gig up. Excuse me, half a gig down, maybe like 200 or 300 up. It's all you need for anything. And even on Wi-Fi, it's strong. I still have a data cap, Ian, of a terabyte a month. With if I'm streaming like Red Dead Redemption 2, even 1080p, I'll probably blaze through that.
Sure.
I'll probably blaze through that within, I don't know, without doing the math, a week or two of like a few hours a day, probably getting through that. That's not a lot.
Yeah, I don't know anything really about that, so I'll keep my mouth shut on that. I don't know how long it would take, but I remember them saying that early on there was like their estimate for the usage of the service was pretty high. I don't think it was a terabyte, but it was definitely in the high double digits.
Bandwidth usage. Here we go.
Okay.
The best possible quality Stadia will use 35 megabits per second of data per second, or about 15.75 gigabytes per hour.
Oof.
At Google's minimum quality, which no one will play, it'll be 4.5 gig per hour. So you want, I'll even out. We'll
15 gig an hour.
We'll just say, how about we say 12? We'll just say 12. We'll like split the difference there. So we'll do some pat math there. So 1,000 divided by 12. That gives you a good 83 hours of playing a month if you're doing it like in the moderate sort of bandwidth. 83 hours a month before you get to and that doesn't include you using your net for everything else in your house, for streaming your Netflix, streaming your Disney Plus. So it's not, that's just if you have it dedicated to that.
Sure.
So this is not viable.
And 83 hours of games a month is, that's high for me, but for a lot of people who play games, especially the people I think who would be most interested in this, people who keep up to date on new gaming services and things like that, I have a feeling that 83 a month would actually be, if this was to be their dedicated platform of choice.
20 hours a week.
That's not a lot.
And again, that's 20 hours a week.
That's going to go fast.
If I'm not doing 4K, and if I'm not using my internet for anything else in the house.
Right.
And if I have a plan like that where I'm lucky enough to get a data cap that high, because I don't know if that's probably not normal to have a terabyte data cap. It's probably a lot lower than that for most plans. So this is a disaster in the making, because technically, and we're not even talking about input lag. So for like you said, if like Red Dead 2, you're probably okay. But for a fighting game, you may not, unless you have that really solid plugged in, solid connection off of a fiber optic, forget it.
Well, I have a friend named Dan who does a channel called Gigaboots, and it's mostly about video quality, latency. He does a lot of stuff like that, and he actually pre-ordered this, and he's getting it next week. And I'm excited because he does a lot of latency tests for systems and games between controllers and the delay, and that's like what a lot of those are his most popular videos. And I really, really want to see what Mortal Kombat 11 and Samurai Showdown look like on this. And I've never been more excited for someone to throw their money away, and they know they're doing that. But I want to see what this looks like. I cannot wait for these tests to come out and see what this looks like, because everyone, even the defenders are, even if this worked fantastically, the defenders are completely looking over the fact that Google has such a history of creating something and then letting it die. So even if this works well, if this isn't generating a ton of money for them, I just don't see this being a thing. I was saying a year prior, now I'm saying 6 months. I feel like this is DOA.
And this is why I don't know why they didn't do market research. They probably should have said, okay, let's look around the entire US. Who even has the internet capabilities to support this? I would probably say off the top of my head, not even 40% of the US could have a plan like I do that supports this. If you're in the sticks, you're not getting fiber optic. There's a lot of cities that don't have fiber optic yet to even get that cap or that speed that you're going to need in order to get 35 megabits per second. Stable?
What is their
35?
What is their desired install base here?
Who do they
that's
want?
A question that they should have asked. How many people do you need to sign up for this for it to be viable? And is there even that? Does that market even exist in a number in the U.S.? Do that many people in the U.S. actually have internet that can sustain that?
They're like, well, we're in Silicon Valley here, it's fine. Yeah, what if you step outside of there? What if you go 100 miles east? Is there internet to support that?
Well, and that goes back to, like, in my head, how I feel like this came about, and I'm probably
Jesus
wrong.
Christ.
But I feel like someone decided they wanted to see if it could be done, and it could be. So then they decided that it must be done.
Oh, the Jurassic Park thing.
I guess. I wasn't even thinking about it until it started coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. They could have didn't say they wouldn't.
Until I started saying, I didn't realize how close it was. But it's like, did it start as like a fun experiment to see if they could do it, and then they decided to turn it into a full-fledged product? Whatever.
Oh, according to this article of Business Insider, they say the average download speed for American households using broadband internet, so you have to have that available, okay, was 96.25 megabits per second, according to Ookla, a firm that monitors and analyzes internet throughput. Okay. That wouldn't be dedicated, though. That would be probably a shared, because most internet plans you share the bandwidth with your neighbors. If you get, it's not a dedicated line for most people. So, like, for example, when I used to watch Netflix when I first moved here before I got fiber optic, on Saturday nights, when everyone else was watching it, I would get the processing, wheel. That stopped once I got my dedicated fiber optic. So think about that. Think about that 96 average. That's not like, peak. That's not when, you have 4 people in your house.
That's 96 if no one else is doing anything.
No one else is doing it in your neighborhood, and it's just you on your TV looking at, a red tube or whatever.
Right.
Which I'm not sure I've done before. That's basically what you're looking at. That's to me a not really telling you what's really happening there. And really, to me, it still comes down to the bandwidth. At the end of the day, that bandwidth is a killer for most people. Because if mine's really 1 terabyte, I won't hit that unless I do a lot of downloading of things, a lot of torrenting, I guess. I don't know. But I'm also one person. If I'm, again, 3 or 4 people in a household, and you're all doing Netflix, you're all doing Hulu, plus forget it. That's going to be gone. Plus regular internet stuff. So... wow, we'll see. I'm really curious to see what the once this launches, how many people they're going to get to sign up for this service. I'll be shocked if they get like 20,000 people that think this is a good idea.
Yeah,
because I don't know. Again, we don't know what the market is. Is it tech bros that have all the bandwidth in the world that love Google? Like Google's not like Apple. People don't love the Google brand like they do Apple to start it. You know what I mean? To get in bed with them just from that alone. There's got to be a reason to do it. I think it'll be people that just do it as a lark, that have money to burn, that have rich people.
This is for people who like to engage in the marketplace of ideas. Everything is just theoretical to them. It's like, oh, we can see if this... They don't actually want this to be a viable product. They just want to say, hey, it works. It's like a toy. I don't understand the point of this.
PC Gamer said that 4K Stadia would be only 65 hours it would take. 65 hours. So my estimate was based upon...
Well, we rounded. We went down.
So 65 hours. And then Stadia will likely take a toll on cellular data plans as well. Oh, that's great. I didn't think about that. Since streaming in 720p at 10 megabits per second will roughly use 4.5 gigabyte per hour. So fuck that. This is no longer viable for even on the go.
The interesting part of Stadia, the ability to play these games technically on anything that you can throw an app on, is shot out the window when you realize that you really can't.
I mean, there are unlimited data plans, but they're not really unlimited. Like they'll cap you at some point.
Sure, they
will. I think most people. Shout out to Mint Mobile, who does a 5 gig plan. MintMobile.com. So I see a podcast. $20 a month, they'll give you like 7 gigs of data. Most people will never use that, especially since you're at home on Wi-Fi. So like that's reasonable. But most people aren't streaming games. Again, that's a lot different than even watching movies.
Sure,
that's nuts. This is just like, and this isn't even being like, oh, the sky is falling, worst case scenarios. We're talking about average scenarios for the average person where this is not a viable product.
Yeah.
This gets worse and worse the more you look at it. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we get even 20,000 people that sign up for this. How many people signed up for the early adopter? Do we know that? Is there numbers on that?
Actually, I have no clue.
Google Stadia early adopters. How many? Now I'm curious to see how many people got into this. I don't even know. I'm trying to look for it. Okay, well, there you go.
I have a feeling there'll be some sort of numbers next week.
Have fun having your internet either throttled or getting that bill at the end of the month for like $800 for a data use because you played Red Dead for more than 15 hours a week. Because that's basically what you're capped down to at 4K. Or 20, you want to say 20 hours a week, Ian. That's all you get there. If you're not doing anything else, maybe you have to buy a separate. That's the key. You have to buy a separate dedicated internet just for your Google Stadia. There you go.
Like when you have a teenager and you get them their own phone line.
Yeah, back in the 80s and 90s, my sister had her own phone line with her see-through phone. You know, the see-through phones with the cords on them. Those are great. The banana-shaped phones. That's the name for them. The oblong phones. Anyway, all right, we're moving on.